The heat wasn't just coming from the pavement, it was rolling off Officer Mark Rhino Riley in waves. Officer Eva Rostova could feel it from 10 feet away, a simmering, abrasive energy that made the grit of the city street feel like it was crawling under her Kevlar. They had just cleared a messy, non-violent domestic disturbance. Lots of yelling, a broken plate, no arrests. It was the kind of call that drained you, leaving a residue of secondhand anger. Eva was running a hand through her tightly bound hair, her back to Rhino, checking her console. "You're a real bleedin' heart, aren't you, Rostova?" His voice was a low growl, meant to cut through the midday traffic. Eva froze. She didn't turn around. Not yet. She knew this tone. It was the one he used before he joked. "The situation was de-escalated, Officer Riley. We followed protocol." "Protocol?" he scoffed. The sound of his heavy boots on the asphalt got closer. "Protocol is for rookies who haven't figured out that some people just need a reminder of who's in charge." He was beside her now. His shadow fell over her, blocking the weak sun. Eva could smell his lunch, onions and stale coffee. She kept her eyes on the screen of her MDT, her fingers hovering over the keys. "I'm logging the report, Mark." "Sure you are. Dotting your I's, crossing your T's. Bet you aced every test at the academy." He was too close. She could feel the heat from his arm, nearly brushing hers. This was the heart of the city. 100 people were walking by, businessmen on phones, mothers with strollers, tourists with cameras. "You know," he said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial murmur, "all that armor, it can't hide everything." And then he touched her. It wasn't a punch. It wasn't a shove. It was worse. It was a violation disguised as a correction. His large, calloused hand landed on her duty belt. His fingers straightened her flashlight, but they didn't stop there. His knuckles deliberately, agonizingly, brushed the side of her hip, tracing the line of her body armor before his fingers found the strap of her vest near her shoulder. "Gotta keep this tight, Evie," he whispered, yanking the strap. The Evie was the worst part. It was a name he'd invented, a diminutive, sugary version of her name that he only used when he was being condescending. Eva's entire body locked. The sounds of the city, the sirens in the distance, the honking horns, the chatter of pedestrians, all faded into a dull roar. All she could hear was the blood pounding in her ears. He was doing this here, in broad daylight, in full uniform. She looked up. Across the street, a man waiting for the bus was watching. He didn't look angry. He looked amused. Ice flooded Eva's veins, pushing out the fear and replacing it with something cold and sharp. She didn't move her head. She just spoke, her voice low and vibrating with a control that cost her everything. "Get your hand off me." Rhino laughed, a short, ugly bark. "Or what, rookie? You gonna write me up?" His hand moved from her vest, and in a grotesque pantomime of affection, he went to pat her on the head. Eva reacted. It wasn't academy training. It was instinct. Her hand shot up and grabbed his wrist hard. Her fingers dug into the pressure points she knew by heart. It wasn't a strike. It was a stop. Rhino's eyes widened, the smirk faltering, as genuine surprise and a flash of pain crossed his face. His hand was a full inch from her hair, trapped in her grip. The street was silent. The man at the bus stop was no longer amused. Ice flooded Eva's veins, pushing out the fear and replacing it with something cold and sharp. She didn't move her head. She just spoke, her voice low and vibrating with a control that cost her everything. "Get your hand off me." Rhino laughed, a short, ugly bark. "Or what, rookie? You gonna write me up?" His hand moved from her vest, and in a grotesque pantomime of affection, he went to pat her on the head. Eva reacted. It wasn't academy training. It was instinct. Her hand shot up and grabbed his wrist hard. Her fingers dug into the pressure points she knew by heart. It wasn't a strike. It was a stop. Rhino's eyes widened, the smirk faltering, as genuine surprise and a flash of pain crossed his face. His hand was a full inch from her hair, trapped in her grip. The street was silent. The man at the bus stop was no longer amused. Ice flooded Eva's veins, pushing out the fear and replacing it with something cold and sharp. She didn't move her head. She just spoke, her voice low and vibrating with a control that cost her everything. Get your hand off me. Rhino laughed, a short, ugly bark. Or what, rookie? You gonna write me up? His hand moved from her vest, and in a grotesque pantomime of affection, he went to pat her on the head. Eva reacted. It wasn't academy training. It was instinct. Her hand shot up and grabbed his wrist hard. Her fingers dug into the pressure points she knew by heart. It wasn't a strike. It was a stop. Rhino's eyes widened, the smirk faltering, as genuine surprise and a flash of pain crossed his face. His hand was a full inch from her hair, trapped in her grip. The street was silent. The man at the bus stop was no longer amused. I said, Eva repeated, her voice perfectly level, "Don't touch me. Don't touch me." She held his gaze. She didn't blink. She held it for 1 second, 2, 3. It felt like an eternity. She was breaking the first rule. You don't challenge the blue wall in public. He snatched his hand back, rubbing his wrist. The mask of the Joker was back, but his eyes were different. They were cold. "Geez, Rostova, no sense of humor," he muttered, turning away. "Can't take a friendly addressment." He sauntered back to his cruiser, a calculated, lazy walk that was meant to show everyone he was in control, that he had let her go. Eva stood for a long moment, her hand still tingling. She forced it to unclench. She got back in her cruiser, her hands shaking so hard she could barely grip the wheel. She drove the rest of her shift in a fog, every radio call feeling like an accusation. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat at her kitchen table, the official complaint against member form glowing on her laptop screen. This was the real what happened next. She knew the consequences. To file this report was to paint a target on her own back. She would be a rat, a troublemaker, the sensitive one. Every call for backup might be answered just a few seconds slower. Her equipment might accidentally fail pre-shift inspection. Rhino, or his friends, would make her life a living hell. She could kiss any hope of making detective goodbye. She might be transferred to the motor pool, or worse, the evidence cage. She thought about the man at the bus stop, the one who watched. She thought about the woman from the domestic call, the one who insisted the broken plate just slipped. Eva had looked that woman in the eye and told her she had options, that the system was there to protect her. What a joke. Eva's fingers moved to the keyboard. She didn't write about how it made her feel. She didn't use words like harassed or intimidated. She wrote it like a police report, cold, factual, and brutal in its neutrality. At 14:32 hours, Officer Riley placed his hands on my person without my consent. He proceeded to adjust my body armor without invitation, using a diminutive moniker. He then attempted to touch my head, at which point I initiated a CQC wrist hold to maintain personal space. Location, corner of 4th and Nain. Public witnesses present. Requesting traffic camera and bank security footage from the First National Building. C14. She hit send. The next few weeks were a new kind of suspense. The air in the precinct was thick with it. Rhino was still on patrol. He'd walk past her, smiling that slow, ugly smile. Other officers who used to share coffee with her now found reasons to be in another room. She was an island. She ate lunch in her car. She triple-checked her gear. She waited. The summons came on a rainy Tuesday. Captain's office, 0800. Captain Valerius was a woman who looked like she was carved from granite. She didn't waste time. "I read your report, Rostova. And I read the IA summary." Eva's heart sank. IA summaries were famous for being inconclusive. "Officer Riley," Valerius continued, not looking up from her screen, "states he was performing a standard partner-to-partner equipment check. He states your vest strap was loose, posing a significant officer safety risk." "Ma'am, that is not—" He states, Valerius cut her off, her voice sharp, that you overreacted and that your behavior was unbecoming. He has 3 other officers who backed his version of the joke. This was it. She was done. However, Valerius said, finally looking up, her eyes were piercing. Officer Riley is a liar. Eva blinked. He's a liar, the captain repeated, and a bad one. He forgot about the First National Bank's new 4K security cameras, the ones I requested personally. Valerius turned her monitor around. There it was, high definition, crystal clear. No audio, but none was needed. You could see the smirk. You could see his hand brush her hip. You could see her body lock. You could see him go for her head. You could see her grab his wrist. Internal Affairs found no grounds for dismissal based on conflicting statements, Valerius said, her voice laced with acid, so I am handling it myself. Ma'am? Officer Riley has been transferred, effective immediately. Eva's breath caught. To where? To the 9th precinct, night shift, in the impound lot. He will be inventorying totaled vehicles until he completes a mandatory retraining program that I designed. He won't be on the street for a very, very long time. The relief was so sudden, Eva felt her knees weaken. Don't thank me, the captain said, turning the monitor back. You did the right thing. It was hard, and it shouldn't have been. The wall is high, Rostova, but it's not made of steel. It's made of silence. You just proved that. Eva walked out of the office. The precinct felt different. As she walked through the bullpen, one of the other female officers, a veteran detective she'd never spoken to, caught her eye. The detective just nodded, a small, barely perceptible sign of respect. Eva nodded back. She went to her locker and suited up. The Kevlar felt lighter. The air in the city felt a little cleaner. She got in her cruiser, started the engine, and rolled out into the streets, a police officer in a city that was, finally, hers as much as it was theirs.